Hey Year 9 and welcome to our second lesson on linear relationships. Very exciting stuff. Remember, linear relationships means we're talking about graphing straight lines. And today we're going to be graphing straight lines using their x and their y intercepts. Now, let's just remember what we did last class. Remember who this handsome man is and what he did? His name was Rene Descartes. And he's the guy that came up with the concept of the Cartesian plane, having an x-axis and a y-axis, which was brilliant because it allowed geometry and algebra to be linked. So he was actually a fairly big player in terms of this concept within mathematics. Now, we also discussed what intercepts are. Now, if we look over to the right-hand side here, this line crosses through the x-axis here. So that's called an x-intercept. Where the line touches the x-axis is at -4, 0. We often get lazy and just write the x-intercept is x equals -4, when it's actually -4, 0 if we write it as a coordinate. Focusing on the y-axis, the line touches the y-axis here. And that's at the point 0, 6. And we'd often get lazy and say the y-intercept is at y equals 6. Technically, y equals 6 is a line that goes like this. Technically, x equals -4 is a line that's a vertical line that goes like that. But we get a little bit lazy when we're talking about the x-intercept and the y-intercept sometimes. And the x-intercept and the y-intercept, as we'll see here, have to have one of the two values 0, because this is at -4, 0. This one's at 0, 6. So we can see that one of the values has to be a 0. Now, last class we also graphed lines. Remember, we had tables of values and we saw this funny symbol here, -3 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 3. That just means in the table go from -3 through to +3. See how I have a -3 and a +3? So put -3 into the rule. Y equals -3 minus 1 gives -4, and you do the same to the other numbers. Plot the points, join them, there's our line. But the question is, how many points do you need to draw a line? You only need 2. So why are we finding all of these points? Well, we're not going to worry about that anymore. It is important that we don't make any mistakes, because both of our points have to be right, or they'll send us off in the wrong direction. But 2 points are all we require to draw a straight line. Now, if we knew where the line crossed the x-axis, and we knew where the line crossed the y-axis, we could just mark those points, join them, and we would have our line. Here's the trick. You need to memorize this. To find where the line crosses the x-axis, y is 0. To find where the line crosses the y-axis, x is 0. So to find where it crosses x, let the other letter be 0. To find where it crosses the y-axis, let the other letter be 0. Let's try it. Okay, question 1 says sketch 3x plus 2y equals 6, showing the x and y intercepts. Well, let's find the x-intercept first. This is what we're going to write. This is the way I'd like you to set it out. x-int is short for x-intercept, so we'll write that. And then in brackets, you're going to write y equals 0. That means we are finding the x-intercept by letting y be 0. Now, I'm just going to transfer the equation down here so it's next to my working. If I'm going to let y be 0, that means here it becomes 2 lots of 0, because y is 0. That's gone. So instead of actually even looking at that, we just go, when you want to find the x-intercept, put your hand over the y part. It's gone. It's 0. It's nothing. It's not there. What can you now read? Well, I can read a 3x equals 6. That's what you consider. 3x equals 6. Divide both sides by 3, and you get x equals 2. That is where this line is going to cross the x-axis out here at x equals 2. How do you find the y-intercept? Well, again, we write y-int. It's short for y-intercept. Then we put brackets to say to find the y-intercept, we're going to let x equal 0. Again, if x is 0, imagine just covering up the x part. So put your hand over the x part. What are you left with? 2y equals 6. Divide both sides by 2 and you get y equals 3. So what does this mean? You go to the x-axis at 2, the y-axis at 3, and you put dots. You join them, and there's your line. Let's try another one. Example 2. Sketch y equals 3x minus 6, showing the x and y intercepts. Well, let's go through this process. How do you do it? Well, to find the x-intercept, we put our hand over the y part. That's what it's saying. So if I was to write the equation down, put your hand over the y part. Oh, hang on a sec. If you put your hand over, what have you got over here? Well, if your hand is there, there's nothing there. We think of it as a 0 because there's nothing on this side anymore. So we've got nothing equals 3x take 6. Now let's plus 6 to both sides. Now let's divide both sides by 3. And we get x equals 2. Let's see what happens when we're trying to find the y-intercept. So here's my equation. To find the y-intercept, we let x equal 0, which means put your hand over the x part. If you do that, you just get y equals minus 6, finished. Well, that's actually an easy part. That was much easier than the x-intercept. So we now go to the x-axis at 2 and we put a dot. We go to the y-axis at minus 6. We put a dot. We join them. And there's your answer. Now, if you're freehanding this, you would do it like this. You would go x-axis at 2. You just do that and write the number 2 next to it. Y-axis somewhere down here, and you write minus 6 next to it, and you join them. I'll put an x and a y, and there's your answer. So that's the process. Have fun. Try doing these questions and see how you go. Bye for now.